Knowledge Providers. I'm your host, Vice President at the Global Speakers Bureau, Sergio Zgzemski. Great to have you on with Soraya Fouladi. Soraya, the founder of Jara and inspirational figure, originally from the East, but here in the United States, available and ready to impact groundbreaking change in your organization. Because Soraya, you are now entering and actually been successful a keynote speaker for a while. Welcome, Soraya. Great to have you. Thank you for accepting our invite. Again, the most important topic from our perspective is the difference that you're bringing to the world. It's being named as Forbes 30 under 30. And obviously, Jara, your groundbreaking design that would help millions upon millions of youth gain education, gain knowledge. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Sergio. I'm so happy to be here today.
Tell us about Jara. This is your invention, your idea to alleviate issues with education in developing countries.
Yes, thank you so much. So, hello, everyone. My name is Soraya Fouladi. I am the founder and CEO of Jara. We are on a mission to ensure the 816 million children globally can get access to quality e-learning and distance learning anytime, anywhere. In these communities, the kids are living with minimal or no access to electricity and often no internet. So when other initiatives, if they were to try to, bring in a smartphone, a tablet, or a laptop, oftentimes the issues they run into is how do you charge the device? How do you connect it so you could update the content? These are many of the issues they run into. In addition to when you give children in these communities devices like this, they're often taken from the children, taken to be used by adults or sold on black markets. Because of this issue, about 816 million children in these communities spent 2 whole years with zero access to education during the pandemic. And this was a problem we at Jara were focused on for many years, even before the pandemic, and a problem I was thinking about many years ago, about 15 years ago, when I was 15 years old in high school. I came up with a solution for this and became an electrical engineer to learn how to build the device. And after that, started Jara and been on the journey since. So I actually have the device with me today. I'd love to show you. So our solution is called the Jara Unit. It's a fully off-grid charging education device that could teach any e-learning content in any language, anytime, anywhere. It charges off-grid with a built-in hand crank, as you see here, and with solar cells on the back, so you could charge it anytime, anywhere. Additionally, we built an IoT system, Internet of Things system, to do updates and pull data without even needing internet in the communities. And yeah, it's interactive with push buttons. It's incredibly durable and very kid-friendly. So yeah, this is an invention that I came up with, and once I moved to the Bay Area right after college to build it out, I brought together an incredible team, and together we've brought the org and our innovation to where it is today.
And that's my next question. Where is Jara today? I know you've been speaking before the United Nations, and obviously we'll be talking about the need for this particular device in wake of natural disasters that are happening across the globe. So where is Jara today, 2024?
Yeah, definitely. So in 2024 today, there's a lot of people that want to bring Jara to their countries, which is very exciting. Behind us, we have 8 years of research, iteration, co-creation with the communities. And right now we're just trying to meet the demand that the world has. So there's many countries right now that are looking to bring the Jara unit to their countries, including Nepal, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Ghana, and the list goes on. So very excited for our future.
How is the support you're receiving? How well the idea of Jara Unit is known among private equity, among investors? Is it easy to finance project like this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in just full transparency, it's actually been quite a difficult journey in finding the right financing for something like this. We had to get very innovative. Historically, foundations, for example, that fund nonprofits, they used to not fund nonprofits that had technology aspects to it, especially hardware. That was kind of back in the day when we were starting. Today, things are completely different. as you know, distance learning and e-learning has become the epicenter of education, right? As AI is at the forefront of everything, more foundations are now funding specifically tech-enabled and tech-creating solutions, which is incredible. But it's, you know, we were very early in the market, so we definitely battled the journey there. And then among investors, you know, also battling that journey there because even in the world of impact investing, it doesn't always fund humanitarian level solutions that have long-term time, you know, long-term turnarounds for when you realize the impact. Something like education to get people out of poverty, that's a kid's 13-year journey, right? We're in it for the mission to help these kids globally, but we also designed a very strong business model so that we can make sure that our solution can be sustainable so that we can achieve our goals quickly, efficiently, and effectively. So we definitely had to get very creative in our journey, but there's so many amazing people that have helped us along the way.
I'm very fascinated by the juxtaposition of the thing you mentioned, artificial intelligence and crank-powered device, right? In the US, people knowledgeable or in the know about the global climate change are prepared. They do have their NOAA cranked radios. So tell me, how important is the fact that we not only progress in terms of technology like AI that can predict, for example, patterns of destruction, but also stay prepared and go to the roots, like handheld crank device as Jara Unit.
Yes, definitely. I think you're pointing out something very interesting, which is as we catalyze innovation, especially in technology, we cannot forget the communities who are being left out of the conversations, left out of the innovation, and also left behind. Oftentimes, it's these communities where we work, these high poverty areas that are off grid, that are not connected to internet or other technologies, that are being left out and left behind. And that's unfair. They should be part of the co-creation of all these solutions. Our solution, it wasn't created as a silo here in Silicon Valley. We went to these communities, spent time 10 hours up the Himalayan mountains even with these communities co-creating exactly what they want and how they want it. And that's how technology should be created today. So there's a lot of work to be done as society, but you know, us at Jara, we really are here to bridge the digital divide.
And how important is the support of public? Remember, it's the PPP, public-private partnership, that breeds the most results. But it seems like there is a great kind of anti-progress, anti-environment movement that for some reason is taking a wind right now. Where in fact we need to do more. We need to have more devices like Jara. We need to have more innovations. We need to think deeper than we used to have.
Yes, definitely. I resonate a lot with that. I think where we can look for how we can, you know, close this gap of how do we get these systems that are very good at capitalism to be putting the funds, especially towards solutions like ours and other solutions for humanitarian results. We should look to the youth. The youth today, their priority is to build a better world, almost all of them. It's hard to find someone who is Gen Z or Gen Alpha who aren't living to make a better world, but they're struggling right now because it's hard for them to find opportunities to work in impact. So they're the future, though. They're our future leaders. So the question is, how do we build more systems? How do we get funds towards more impactful humanitarian level solutions? And I think we could turn to the youth to answer those questions.
So what keeps you up at night these days?
What keeps me up at night these days? I think it's along the same lines. I feel a huge urgency towards, firstly, closing this global education crisis. It hasn't been named yet on a state of emergency level that we are in a global education crisis, but we are. And part of my mission is to ensure we can get to that level where it is announced as a global humanitarian level crisis that we need to urgently solve for many reasons. One is, firstly, it's so unjust that we even could go another day with someone not getting access to the resources and education they need to break out of the cycles of poverty their family's been into and be able to achieve their dreams. Firstly, that's just an injustice in itself. But secondly, did you know that educating a girl is the third most effective climate drawdown solution? Most people don't know that. And it's because it's not shared across the media. It's not shared openly and widely, even though there's years and years and years of research around it. So that the reason that it is the third most effective climate drawdown solution is because in these very high poverty communities all around the world, there's a much higher rate of child marriage, especially when girls don't get education. And it's been proven that oftentimes when these girls are married off at age 10, 11, 12 against their will, they are forced to have about 7 children while they're still children themselves and against their will. But when these girls do get education and avoid child marriage, then they have on average about 3 children out of their own choice, right? And it's so important that people have choice in how many children they want, when they want them, etc. If we don't make sure that these girls in these high poverty areas get the education they need and avoid child marriage, we'll end up going from, we're almost at 8 billion people on the planet right now. By 2050, we'll end up at over 9.7 billion people on the planet. That's almost, over 1 billion, 1.5 billion more people on the planet that we don't have resources for today. And if we end up at almost 10 billion people on our planet, there's no way we can come back from the climate crisis. There is no path back. There is no solutions to be had. And it's this generation of girls today that we need to do something about and focus on. Bringing the Jara units to these girls is a solution that's very tangible and meets the communities exactly where they're at. And this is urgent. We need the world to call this a global education crisis and do something as soon as possible.
So what keep you optimistic about the whole thing? I mean, as I mentioned, we have many regressions, political systems. We see, for example, great example would be the country of Afghanistan and the fate of women out there who celebrated their progress just to revert to the Taliban rule right now. So again, what keeps you optimistic?
Yeah, we are, the state of the world is not an easy place right now. We have to acknowledge that. What keeps me optimistic, again, I point to the youth. The youth are here to make a change, and they won't accept anything else. We see them out there in these streets. We see them calling for human rights. We see them doing everything they can to create a better world. And they give me so much hope. And it's not just youth that, we may see in America or somewhere else. It's youth in every single country that are activated to build a better life than what they've seen before for everyone, especially people they don't know. So the youth give me hope, and my goal is to ensure the youth of today can get a chance for tomorrow.
And here at the Global Speakers Bureau, we do have a pleasure of offering your keynotes. So, Soraya, what are the top 3 keynotes you might want to have our audiences pay attention to? And then how is a keynote looking like from you?
Yes, definitely. I love speaking about a range of different topics. Obviously, speaking about human rights, the education crisis, and the climate crisis is something I have a long expertise on, especially being raised by going to the United Nations International School for 13 years of my K-12 education. Just been surrounded by the work of human rights, the rights of people and the planet. Additionally, I'm an electrical engineer, and unfortunately, not many electrical engineers look like me. So I love speaking about, the experience of being a minority in a field where there might not be other people that look like you, but also speaking about technology and innovation, and what the role of technology can have on Earth, especially in humanitarian contexts, but also, but also what's the newest technology, what's the emerging technology.
So we talked about women empowerment. We talked about education. What's the topic number 3?
Yes, topic number 3 is leadership. Throughout my whole career, I've always found such a passion in leadership, and I'm very grateful to have had a lot of leadership experience. For even past initiatives of commercializing, repurposing US government technology, spinning them out into dozens of startups for civilians. And I was in charge of taking these startups from ideas to products to scale, partnerships, sales, so forth. And I've got to support many leaders, and I've had my own leadership experience myself. So I love helping people learn more about the world of leadership, management, and how to do it from another angle. What does resilience look like? Where does grit come from? How do you build mission-driven leaders? How do you get everyone on the same page to support each other? The whole list goes on. I've been an executive coach for most of my career in addition to my work, and I just love, using what I've learned to educate others. So I just love talking about leadership.
And we're so appreciative of the opportunity of having you in the roster of Global Speakers Bureau. With that, our typical question at knowledge providers, we want to always wrap things up with, what's the number 1 book that Soraya Fouladi is reading this month? What is the book that everyone should read?
That's a great question. So one of my favorite books that I continue to reread and love learning from is The 10 Faces of Innovation. It's a book by both Tom Kelly and also Jonathan Littman. I have it with me right here. It's one of my favorite books. It's from the co-founders of IDEO, which is one of the top design firms out there. I love this book so much. I first read it when I was starting my entrepreneurship journey, even before I started, the year before I became an entrepreneur, back in 2015 is when I started reading this book. It just brought me so much understanding of the holistic experience of building an innovation. It taught me a lot about, ethnographic research, spending time with the communities, co-creating with communities, how you build with people, not for people. And that influenced a lot of how we have built Jara today. So it's definitely one of my favorite books.
And with that, we will be wrapping up, wishing you entire Jara team nothing but continuous success. Soraya Fouladi, CEO of Jara, Forbes 30 under 30 list. Congratulations on your continuous success. And again, if you'd like more information, log into gspeakers.com. Soraya Fouladi is available in our roster of speakers, and I'm sure you are a great addition to every single event you're visiting. With that, have a wonderful the rest of the 2024. This has been Knowledge Providers Podcast from Global Speakers Bureau. I'm your host, Vice President at GSB, Sergio Grzemski. Until next time.